It is India versus Afghanistan, and if you ask me, this is the tournament proper starting for the Indian team. Some tough challenges ahead. This is Nikhil Naz with the preview and 5 points to really pay attention to in the India versus Afghanistan encounter. Let's start with point number 1, and that is the last matches that these two teams have played. Remember, India had a tricky game versus USA, but they sailed through. They are undefeated, so we'll come into this game high on confidence. Also, they are happy about the fact that they've left the tricky pitches in US behind them. Better pitches you're expecting here in West Indies, so the Indian team would be happier of the two, because Afghanistan, on the other hand, have had an absolute hammering in their last game, totally decimated by West Indies, and those scars are going to be there in their minds when they play India. I asked the Afghanistan coach about how they're going to get over that loss, and he said, listen, he looked at it positively, and he told me that they're looking at that game as a lesson versus West Indies. It's taught them two things. One, competition is getting tougher, so they're going to be geared up for the India game. The second thing that they've learned from that, one man can take the game away from you. Nicholas Pooran did it on that occasion, and they're hoping one of their players has an outstanding day and they do well against India. So that is the games that the two teams are coming in with, and you'd have to say Indian team with better confidence. Okay, point to ponder number 2. The last game that these two teams played between them, that was a bilateral game that took place in Bangalore. That game happened in January, and what a game we had. It was a super over, not once, 2 super overs. Eventually India won by a hair's breadth, and on that game we heard from the Afghanistan camp, Jonathan Trott said that, listen, all I remember from that game is that we should have won that game. This would give Afghanistan confidence, but let's remind them that even though it was a close encounter, the last encounter between these two teams in the T20 format, but remember, India were kind of playing their B team on that occasion, and yet it was a super over. Here, India's got their A team out, so you'd have to say on paper, India looking much better. Let's talk about the pitch. I went right to the ground and stood on top of the pitch, you know, an opportunity you don't get very often, but I got it here in Kensington and saw the pitch up close. It looks like a dry surface. It's light brown in color, reminds you of a pitch maybe in west of India, in Rajkot or Ahmedabad, something like that. But all I can tell you, it seems like a good batting track. Not a blade of grass, completely flat. They've been rolling in non-stop, rolling the pitch for the last 2 days. It's going to be a good batting track is what I reckon. A good belter of a track, and that is something that I think will play in the hands of the Indian team, considering man-to-man batting, Indian team seems to have the edge. Okay, let's talk about India's 11. Even though this is point number 4, in our preview, even though Rahul Dravid may have hinted that they can look at a third spinner, especially a wrist spinner in Kuldeep Yadav. Kuldeep has also been practicing very hard here. Those are indications that India may make a change to their 11. If they do make a change, I think that will be the only change. Maybe a fast bowler goes out in Siraj and a spinner in Kuldeep comes in. He also hinted maybe they could even drop a batter, because good batting conditions, drop a batter, maybe a Shivam Dube and a Kuldeep comes in. That still gives them 7 bowling options. Those are things that the Indian team is considering. But if you ask me, looking at the pitch, looking at the way India is trying to get a balance, I would hedge my bets on saying India will not make any changes to the 11. I reckon they will go in with the same 11, considering the picture. If a belter of a track, you need your 3 fast bowlers and a Hardik, and that is something that the Indian team might do and may keep a Kuldeep Yadav out. That's what I reckon at the moment. That was about India's playing 11, and final point to consider, that this is a day game. Remember, the Afghanistan team have been playing the night game. This is going to be the first day game. An Indian team, on the other hand, has only been playing day games in this World Cup. On the face of it, you may think that this is advantage India, but let's not forget something that Rahul Dravid said, something that Jonathan Trott said, that if it's a day game, it suits us. Rahul Dravid said it makes the pitch a bit more sluggish, and Jonathan Trott said that yes, first day game in this tournament, but we are happy about it, because as you know, Afghanistan's strength is their spinner, so they're going to be happy about that as well. So those are the 5 points to ponder over between India and Afghanistan. Just aside, remember, teams are familiar with each other. They play a lot of T20 cricket, so it works both ways. One, because you play a lot of cricket against each other, the Indian team would know the Afghanistan players very well, and so the Indian batters can negotiate Afghanistan spinners rather easily. But on the other hand, it also gives Afghanistan some advantage that they know their opposition in India very well. So familiarity does not really favor one team, but it does exist. What does also exist is the fact that Afghanistan usually less experienced than India in test matches, in ODI, but in T20 they have a lot of experience. Their players play T20 cricket across the globe. They play T20 cricket in the Caribbean Premier League, so they are also accustomed to the conditions here. All in all, you can expect a humdinger of a contest. If anything of that last game is anything to go by, that the one that they played in January, will have a nail biter once again. For the moment, this was the preview of India versus Afghanistan Super 8 to be played here at the Kensington Oval. This is Nikhil Naz signing off for Sports Today. Take care. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Give us a like if you enjoy our content too. Bye bye.